I'm here. We're good.
Jana's here, everybody.
Oh, we're live. That was rude, Jessica. You bitch.
I always flick that bean right away. You don't know when it's coming.
Nope.
This is, by the way, a not safe for work podcast. I don't know if you noticed by that bean
Yeah.
reference.
So if you're not 18, get the fuck out. If you're at work, put in headphones. If you have conservative sensibilities and vulgar references, crude language, titties, all the things bother you, we aren't the podcast for you, and that's okay.
Or if you don't believe that ASFs are real, I'm not sure this podcast is for you also.
Yeah, I'm going to hear all this the same time as you guys. So you're going to get my live reaction because you all know I'm a diehard ASFer. So we'll see. I'm interested, but just a little forewarning, guys. I have been struck by the child flu that they've been passing around for the past 2 weeks, and I may exit stage left for a minute, but I promise I'll come back. But I am here for you all. So, yeah, let's do this thing.
Yeah, you're doing it, Jana. You're a winner. That's what I think.
Yeah, I was drinking Red Bull, but now I'm having regrets because my stomach is like, you bitch.
The show is somehow still sponsored by many things. One of those is RAL, vetdna.com. I actually sent in some samples yesterday, so I'll get results today. Thank you, vetdna.com.
Yeah.
You can use code shit happens for $5 off your crypto account. I was testing Jana's nasty snakes. They're probably full of all kinds of.
I was just going to say, I had a couple people test from the auction, and it made me really happy. And I got copies of their tests, still negatives.
Good. That's my favorite.
That's my favorite. Like,
that free
like you said, guys,
negative test. You're like,
just so you know, like, even if you've tested everything in your collection and your biosecurity is awesome and you're doing everything right, that doesn't mean that when you ship a snake off, it's not going to shake something loose. So continued negatives always just like make my day. So I'm pretty excited about that.
The system is working. Thank you.
Yeah. Wow. So I guess I'll find out tomorrow if anything shook loose for Jessica.
The daughter is really cool looking. She's pos het pied, right? Or 100% het pied?
She's 100% het pied, and she grayed out at like 6 or 8 months.
Weird.
Which what's even weirder? Like, it's not like an IMG thing. We've already had this whole conversation, but her pattern is really freaking cool.
So I don't know how to explain this correctly, but the sister looks het puzzle, and yours, the one I just got, looks het monsoon. Wouldn't it be the stupidest
if there was a het puzzle and a het monsoon
in the same line? That's so dumb. Because yours looks that female looks so much puzzly. More like het monsoon than the other one.
Monsoony. Sorry. Yeah, you knew what I meant.
Yeah, it's crazy. They're probably het for fuck all nothing, by the way. So let's go to our sponsors, which we are, they're homo for awesome, right?
Homo for awesome.
Not het for awesome. Homo. Look at this. Homo for awesome.
Look at this jerk over here showing me up every single fucking day, no matter how hard I try. Look at this badass fucking snake.
And
this
it's eaten
puts
now.
My freaking little acid clown to shame. I saw this post and I may have cried a little, Shane. I'm not gonna lie. Like, look at this sexy beast that is gonna be fathering some clutches in this coming season. Confusion, spot nose, Yellowbelly clown. Damn. Now I'm like, I don't even know why I try, Shane. I don't know. You just
have to buy your next like Powerhouse breeder mail from Shane.
I guess I do. Anyway, amazing stuff coming next season. Always amazing stuff. Still the OG sponsor of the podcast. It is our 1-year anniversary with Shane Kelley, and he is going to continue to sponsor the podcast, which is awesome. So if you don't know who he is, wake up, smell some coffee, and go follow him on literally every social media because he's awesome. And thank you for continuing to sponsor the podcast, Shane Kelley.
Thank you. Who are these critters?
Who are these critters? This is Gray Family Snakes, and this is their African import dinker. What? What is it? What is it, Jessica? Because that looks right up your alley.
Mm-hmm.
I may have seen this and went,
super extremist.
It's really,
or something else like that.
Really pretty. It might even have like some granity stuff going on. You know how I love that granity stuff, and it's dark and it's like flame. It's wow. Good job, guys. Good job. Mm-hmm. So they have some exciting stuff coming up this season. They did some ultrasounds recently, so their season is off to a good start. And obviously, this snake is in their future. So,
and there'll be a auctioneer on the next auction.
And they will be at our next auction, which is July 8th. So if you are planning to attend, please make sure that you share HRP's post and let people know that you're going to be there. We would love to make some noise and have a lot more people there this time. It's going to be open to other online vendors as we progress. So if you want to be an online vendor and you are open to testing on intake, make sure you hit us up. And then if you love us, please share so that we can get the word out that this is something that we're going to be doing on the regular. And then also Gray Family Snakes. Thank you for sponsoring the podcast. I look forward to, that says that they haven't tested the genes yet. So I think that means that they're going to test genetic test and see if anything comes back. Mm-hmm. So look forward to seeing that. This is BNS Reptilia. That is Chris. And look at all those boxes. So you know what those boxes mean? That means that someone's going to have a fantastic freaking season and they are ready to ship out all their amazing animals. He is our go-to guy for all the cool different species. And he is continuing to sponsor the podcast. Thank you, Chris.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. I really like my little bull snake. She's in here in quarantine. Her face is stupid, and I love it. 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
All right, before we do shout-outs real quick, for some reason we fucked up, and the Ann Arbor, Michigan ban passed because only 2 people spoke in opposition to it.
What the actual fuck, Michigan?
So, I don't know. We try to shout out USARC every time. It doesn't seem to work that well. There's an Austin, Texas animal program ban that has an update too. So if you live anywhere in the country and have reptiles, you should be watching your email, checking the website in case it's near you. And if you know somebody who lives in that city, you tell someone.
You should be campaigning for anything that's happening against us. Because remember, guys, this is a trickle effect. This is a precedence. This is a legal battle for the entire hobby. Precedence is everything. Once they get one win, then the trickle effect fucks us all. So we gotta quit letting them win these little battles because that helps them win the bigger battles. So hopefully you all are paying attention to those and doing what you can because we dropped the ball in Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Can you do shout outs, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Looks like Lisa is here, Jake is here, Tara's here, Bohemian, Jennifer, H&H, Marshall, Jason, Will, George, Blackjacks. If you missed our episode with Blackjacks, make sure you catch that. It was some pretty good, I feel like, conversation. We discussed the auction potential and all kinds of things. It was a really good episode, so make sure you catch that. Matt, Jeff, Andrew, Mel, Chris, Heretic, Lindsay, Ken, Will's hella heat. Where's the fucking podcast? Love you long time. Wayne and Alice. Lilac. Let's see. Bods. Balls and Strikes.
Jana's falling asleep.
I'm not falling asleep. I'm scrolling because people
Keep
commented
going.
a lot. Lori's here. Morph Wizards. I'm falling asleep, you jerk. My snake addiction. Ah, Stoneage is here. Hello. Hey. Maine's Morphs.
That's funny.
What?
I'm trying to read that.
Sorry.
Oh my God, Jana.
I'm not touching you, do it. Okay, sorry.
Well, it's like Reptile says, I thought about starting a new podcast called Why is Will's Podcast Taking So Long to Get Started? And I think that'd be a great podcast.
That would be a great.
Maybe like 1 or 2 minutes once a week. It's
maybe
like,
we'll have like
a segment.
A segment. That sounds great. We're gonna steal that idea unless you're actually gonna do it, and then we'll just let you have that thunder. But I think we're gonna have a little Will's podcast update where we'll like listen to his little jingle and be like, well, at least he has stickers. But where's the fucking ball python babies?
The next auction, Will is correct, is July 8th at 7 p.m. EST on YouTube. And the if you think you're gonna forget, hit subscribe and hit the bell, and we'll send you a notification. Please. Also, weirdly, we have more Instagram followers than YouTube subscribers, so explain that one to me.
Yeah, so if you feel like you're going to forget, you could screenshot the ad from HRP Instagram, and you can post it to your own page as a little reminder. That would be great, guys. We would love that.
I think we can announce the vendors. It's Texas Kid with leopard geckos. Obviously, Gray Family Snakes and Bravo Zulu, and your friend. Renfro. What's her business name?
Renfro Reptiles out of California.
And I'll probably like bring some cornholes or something just to fill it in if we like feel like we want cornholes. I don't know. I have corns coming out of all of my holes currently.
It looks like I might get a clutch of king snake eggs.
Yay!
One of my girls has shed, and she's looking very pointy on her spine. And like, should I do another breeding, or if she's already shed, that means that she's done? I'm still learning with the colubrids. It's her first shed post
formation.
Sometimes
it's a trick. And that's like
she's also not
the pre-laced shed is the next one. And then I probably wouldn't pair her again. But she's all right. Y'all came here for some facts. I think it's time for facts. Are we ready? Jen, are you ready?
Tara says she wants a corn, so she'll probably be hitting you up later because you got them coming out.
Yeah, I think I've decided on like wholesale pricing too. So if somebody wants like a pack of 10, there's like and I stole this from like Gecko Boa's pricing because he has like low end leopard geckos, mid investment. So you could buy like a pack of 10 of the nicer ones for $80 from him and maybe make a breeding group out of it. And I was like, that makes sense. There's like a basic morph price point, and then like an okay morph, and then like stuff that I could retail for $200 probably or $150. But if you will buy 10 of them, you can make a breed group out of half of it and sell the other half yourself. So that
it might be
a potential future because I have a lot of core sticks, like a lot. All right, let's talk about ASFs because that's why everybody's here. I'm assuming Jana. Well, this is our logo. So, and this isn't due to any one comment, but a culmination of comments. Because I talked to Dave at the Reptile show about it, and there was still confusion. So it was like, let's try to like Google and do some peer-reviewed literature search to figure out, are they aliens? Were they made in a laboratory? Are they hybrids? All of that stuff.
I just want to address this comment just a second. I need to be an ass for just a second. Yes, ball pythons and their shed cycles. I am intimately familiar with ball python breeding. I am still, even though I know the facts, I am still really green on colubrids, and we were talking about king snakes. Last year, I had a clutch of duds, and that's it. So Jessica has been, if you guys don't know, she's my kicking and screaming mentor of all things, even though she hates it and she will never admit to that out loud. I consider her a mentor, and so when I get confused and ask questions, even though she's answered them 37 times, she's helping me out with the whole colubrid thing. So I'm talking about my trio of kings, and I'm hoping that I'm going to get a live clutch this year, just for the experience. Anyway, sorry. Pull Back Rack podcast.
What is an ASF, Jana? ASF is a real thing. The laboratory lines started in South Africa or are that we have in the US now are Mastomys coucha. It looks like a little brown mousy rat looking thing. Obviously their number one feature is 8 to 12 pairs of assistants. Okay. And I looked at mine. I didn't have any with 12 pairs. We'll cover that on slide 6-ish. So we'll get back to that. Oh, God. This is why we're trying to dispute this. All right. It's not a lab-made species. It is a real species, Mastomys coucha. It's just some of them were brought into captivity. Okay, well, are they real? I think 99.99% of the confusion comes from this video. So we're going to listen to a tiny little bit, and we're going to try to interpret what we think Dave was trying to communicate. Because I've watched it dozens of times now while preparing for this, and I'm still not 100% sure what he was trying to tell the world. You should be able to hear it, hopefully.
True. So guys, we've been guided by a lot of people out here that know pretty much everything about what ball pythons are doing out here in the wild, and I've shown them all photos of African soft furs and asked them if they've ever seen this rodent out here before. This is a picture of what we call an African soft fur, and this is what a lot of people think that ball pythons are eating out here in the wilds of Africa. Have you ever seen this rodent in the wild out here?
It's different than this.
So there's different rodents.
Yeah.
So let me just pause and we can riff. So he says, have you ever seen this? Shows one with like a domestic color variant. And the guy responds, they are different than this. Not these are the ones are different. And then Dave immediately speaks over him and is like, oh, they're different species. He didn't say that. He said they're different.
They don't look like this. Yes.
Okay. Let's keep going.
Out here that the ball pythons are eating, but not this.
Yeah, that's it.
There are actually about 7 different species of what we identify as African soft furs. Well, some of them do exist in the wild throughout Africa. Here in West Africa, in the range of the ball python, they are actually absent. Not only do they not exist in this part of Africa, but there's another reason why African soft furs are not being eaten by ball pythons out here in the wild. African soft furs are lab rats from South Africa. They do.
What does that mean? Does that mean that he thinks that the captive thing that we have does not also exist in the wild? Because it does. I just showed you a picture of it. I can show you like the iNaturalist things. So Mastomys coucha is all right, let's finish this before I get even more angry because this is crazy.
Do not exist as we know them here in the wilds of Africa.
As we know them.
Right, so they're not domesticated, but ratus doesn't exist as a cute Dumbo, silver, blue, snuggly domesticated rat as we know it in the wild either. But it does exist in the wild, that species. Does it seem like he's torturing the logic?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm finding is that there is a lot of misinformation about ball pythons, especially what they're eating in the wild. Specifically, everybody says they eat rodents, but rodents could be ground squirrels, they could be shrews, they could be any kind of rodents. But I don't know where it became knowledge that African soft furs are living in the wild in Africa, and that's what ball pythons are eating out here. Because again, they're not. And that just goes to...
Okay, so again, they are. let's talk about why everybody thinks that ball pythons eat Mastomys caucha, because ball pythons eat Mastomys natalensis, which is used to be the main species of African soft furs. And then we figured out that there were cryptic species that look very similar within. That's where he's like, there are 7 species, but this is the caucha range. So it's way down here in yellow. So when they went and they caught some, they thought they were catching natalensis a long time ago in the 30s. And they're like, whoopsie, there's actually cryptic species all within the range that look very similar. And when we went to go check, we're like, oh, it's actually caucha. But this is the ball python range. Obviously, yellow doesn't overlap. So he's technically correct. No ball python eats caucha in the wild, but they do eat something that looks exactly the same in every possible manner to a ball python. And I don't think a ball python checks the differing chromosome number, biochemical traits, and or sperm morphology of the ASF after sampling it to determine whether or not it is natalensis or caucha. It is effectively the same thing to the ball python when it interacts with it. Because you, Jana, and I could look at the two in the wild and wouldn't be able to tell the difference. You literally have to karyotype them to tell the difference. So a ball python's like, oh, that's pretty what I eat, right? So he's technically correct that there are 7 cryptic species, and the one we have isn't the one that overlaps with ball pythons, but the effective difference doesn't matter. They look the same. They probably taste the same. And then all of the old literature we have that uses natalensis is probably caucha, because we have always had just caucha, never natalensis. All right. So I don't know if anybody has any questions about that. But the other thing I've heard is ASFs aren't rats or mice, and they aren't, but they're like hamsters or hybrids of gerbils or hamster gerbil hybrids. They're none of those things. They're like a real animal. They are neither rats nor mice, but they're more closely related to mice. So Mastomys is the genus for all of the African soft fur species. They're all in Murinae, which is the subfamily of old world rats. And so their allies are these. And gerbils is another subfamily, and hamsters is a totally different family. It's not even in Muridae. So hamsters are not, so they're not a hybrid combination made in a lab that is not real and doesn't occur in the wild. They do occur in the wild, and that one of their sister taxa, natalensis, is, sympatric with ball pythons and is probably eaten by ball pythons. Is there any questions? Was that too much?
So they are in the same family. ASFs that we have in captivity are in the same family as the ASFs found in the range of ball pythons.
Not just family and genus. So they're
the same genus,
and they're a sister taxa that is virtually identical. All right, that's all. Not hybrid, not man-made, real, and more closely related to mice than rats. So what do the feds think? Let's click this. Oh, it doesn't work. All right, so the feds have ASFs just listed under Mastomys. They don't even differentiate species. All of the ones that are on Lacey Act they don't even care, because they knew even then in the 70s that we didn't know if we had caucha or Mastomys in captivity. Are you going to make it, Jana?
I'm fine. Keep going.
All right. So all of them are on Lacey Act as injurious, and since the inception for being potentially invasive. So we can never import pure natalensis to feed ball pythons, hypothetically, because they're all banned from import. But then this is something we've misspoke about before. So because of USR's lawsuit, all injurious species can cross state lines legally internally. So that includes ASF. So you could cross ASF across state lines as long as the receiving state, it's legal to keep them there.
I did not know that.
Right, because their ruling allowed all of the injurious ones to be fine. But they also don't distinguish it. On Lacey Act, it's just Mastomys sp, so any member of the genus, because you can't tell them apart. All right, can we prove that ball pythons actually eat them in the wild? No. But you can barely prove anything about what ball pythons do in the wild because we have almost no papers total. So this is the one paper, the often maybe oversighted Nigerian paper. And they do have Muridae, so they know it's something in that family. And they have mammals. So these were probably partially represented by some sympatric rodents. And there are like 6 or 7 species, a couple of shrews, really big rats, but also African soft furs would be eaten.
I have a question. So what else is in the same, help me out, genus? So like, let's do a little like comparison. So what is in the same genus as ball pythons?
A lot of stuff. Burms, crab pythons, anything in python, right? And maybe they shouldn't be.
So it's a big category is what I'm asking, right?
I mean, you're asking like, it is certain taxonomic designations too broad for certain kinds of animals?
How broad is the ASF
Mastomys?
That how broad is that? Does that conclude just 7, or does that include a lot more than 7?
No, it's like 7. It's just the ones that all look basically exactly the same.
Okay.
I think some of them are like a tiny bit smaller and redder if they're more from the desert. But the cryptic species we thought were all natalensis are all brown little things that we think of ASF size body condition. And some of them, like they're like, it's like they got separated during like a, like an interglacial versus glacial period. They had some chromosome shifts and they couldn't breed back together again, but they're effectively the same species.
Okay.
They're not the same species. They're like, they appear to be the same species phenotypically. Hell yeah. I'd take some Chihuahua babies. So does anybody have proof that they eat this in the wild? No, but probably. Like, because they'll eat anything warm-blooded, bird or mammal, if it fits. They almost don't care. And they even have, like, I did look up every, like, Sierra Leone, Benin, just rodent survey. And so when they put traps out, they get all kinds of stuff. And even big ratus, and mus. So, like, they've escaped into the wild there. So they're eating Norwegian rats, too, at the same time. They don't care. If it fits, they eat it. So
if I fits, I sits.
So this one like bothers me all week. Are ASFs more nutritious? More. What does that mean? I still have no idea. So this was a claim from a frozen feeder website. ASFs are between the size of mice and rats. They are very lean, high protein, high calorie, low fat food source, making them superior rodent feeder, packing more calories and protein per gram than rats and mice. They're describing protein powder. They're not describing a living thing. I've never. So how can it be high protein, low fat, but also high calories? So they're saying like your snake's going to immediately do like pure gluconeogenesis for all of its glucose needs and get roided, or is this like a high carbohydrate mouse? You've like biologically engineered it to create starches. Like I have no idea what this means. It's like nonsense statement.
It's like when someone puts organic, gluten-free when a product
these are 100
have
gluten-free
ASFs. Yeah. Also, it matters how you feed them, how you take care of them, what age they are. There's a lot of factors that go into stating whether something is a healthy choice for our ball pythons.
And what does that fucking mean, though? What does healthy mean?
We don't know because no one gives a fuck and no one's done enough studies.
Nobody knows the RDA for ball python. Also, Turns out I can't find any evidence that anybody has done like a carcass analysis on any ASF ever, period, anywhere on the internet. So if someone has that, please send it to me. I looked all over the internet. I looked in Merrick's veterinary handle. I looked in all the AZA materials. I see, this is the link. It's in the show notes. I know what it is for mice. I know what it is for quail. I know what it is for chicken. I know what it is for rats. I know what it is for frogs and lizards. But I don't think anybody stuck a desiccated ASF and a bomb collimator and figured out how many calories are in it. I just don't believe you until somebody shows me some evidence. So everyone has been saying that they're high protein since when? I went back. I dug back. I went through ballpythons.net. And I was like, when did people start believing that they're high protein for some reason? Nobody talks about it until like the late teens. And then I'm sorry, Gavin, buddy, but I'm pretty sure it was you who said it first in 2016 in a YouTube video. We're like, this is steak, this is hamburger.
When we've all been perpetuating that.
Yeah. And he doesn't have a reference either. I've never seen a reference. I will gladly take it and read it, but I did a full search for the whole genus Mastomys natalensis, like if it was misid'd, Coucha. There's no evidence that they're higher protein or they're literally a tube of protein powder and they're chocolate flavored and you could like shake them out into your snake's water bowl for like a delicious snack. There's just no evidence for that. Their body composition is probably very similar to a rat or a mouse because they're cousins.
All science aside, in my personal experience, snakes that I have raised on ASFs or that I get and I change to ASF diet, I can visually see a difference. I have no concrete scientific studies. I have no analysis to state whether it's because they're higher protein or they're natural food or anything like that. But I can say through 3.5 years of experience feeding ASFs to my breeders, when I feed ASFs, I see a difference. Visually, I see a difference in the actual physicality of the snake. It's like when you breed a snake and they start to glow and they look phenomenal. The snakes that are feeding ASFs and the snakes that are feeding Norwegians, they look healthier. They have smaller, less stinky poops. You
need to propose for me a mechanism for why they would look better, because otherwise, I hear you. I feed ASFs. They seem fine. The poops are smaller, but the food bolus gets smaller, so they would like, absorb more of it. So if you fed an equal amount of rat,
the same
ounce, same body condition,
correct?
Right,
same
not
age,
a fat old medium.
Right.
Like a skinny wean, which is what an ASF sort of 50, 60 grammer kind of is skinny. Not until it gets fat.
That is an interesting discussion because you're correct. So I would feed an adult ASF, which we all know is much smaller in size, to a breeder female. You feed one and you feed a small or a medium to the other female that you're doing the comparison to. And maybe the quality is worse because there's a size difference. Like a wean is a different makeup than a small, than a medium, if that makes sense. Yeah, so I haven't done a control like that because I wouldn't feed an adult breeder female a weaned Norwegian rat, but I definitely feed them an adult ASF, which is, like you're saying, is the equivalent. So maybe if we all fed weans, would they look healthier just like they do with the ASFs?
I don't have the answer to that question.
I don't have the answer either. I just know
that to make extraordinary claims, you need extraordinary evidence. And I just don't see extraordinary evidence. So if people want to report they anecdotally like the way their snakes look, good. That's great.
Anecdotal. Yeah, I didn't do a control. I didn't do pictures before and after. But it would be fun to do that, to raise one on ASFs and raise one on Norwegian rats of the equivalent size.
And it's possible it's something subtle, like the ASF stores more beta carotene or something in its liver or something. So the snake has more to utilize and the rat just burns through it faster. or whatever. It's not, could be something like that, but like you got to have evidence for stuff instead of making things up, in my opinion. And I feel like we've been making up that they're higher protein since
right.
2016.
And I have perpetuated that misinformation that does not have science to back it. Balls and Strikes says that he has raised clutch mates on 4 different occasions, one on ASF, one on Norwegian rats. And as an adult, the ones on ASFs have held their color better than the females on the regular Norwegian rats. Now, my question to you, Balls and Strikes, is the question that Jessica just posed to me. Do you feed the appropriate size rodent to that female that's on Norwegian, or do you feed the same aged rodent to the ASF equivalent? So now, not only do you have to think about age
and the same diet, because we feed ASFs like magical high vitamin
protein.
A diets and high protein.
That might
diets
also
anyway.
have something to do with it too. Is that they
get spinach and all kinds of fun micronutrients that we probably are like, fuck this rat. I'm gonna feed this
rat. No, I've never done that with my rats, but my
18% dog shit, basically.
My ASFs, they get salad, they get fucking sunflower seeds, they get boiled eggs, they get like the shit. So maybe if I fed rodents the same way, which I don't breed my own Norwegians, I get mine from an outside source.
My homebred Norwegians, when I did them at a larger scale, I thought were the healthiest, awesomest, made the best looking babies. And people were like, there's no way. And I'm like, if you're buying from a big breeder or big rodent producer, when it's like the bottomest of the barrel food, it's all ASFs, it's all 6F with no supplements, no vitamin A, no selenium. Maybe your snakes will look like shit. It's more about like the visual thing. I think just like whatever, but the claim that they are like 3 times as much protein and on a per gram basis as rats, crazy. Like I'm talking like if you look at the dry matter, it could be like a couple of percents difference, which is like the variation among all rodents. 3 times as much protein. That means the whole thing is a muscle. It has no organs. It has no bones. It's just like a little muscle turd. That's not an animal. It's not like a living organism. It's like an insane claim. So we should just not talk about that anymore.
Balls and Strikes says that he always feeds appropriate meal sizes, and all his ASFs and rats are on FRM and get supplemented with rodent igniter. And they're all on the same percentage feed.
Okay. I don't know what you're going to say to me. We would need like cohorts of the exact same normal ball python split into treatment groups.
That's what he's saying, is that he has done that, and they're on
the exact same morph ball python, same gender, same hets.
Oh,
split.
They're clutch mates. I don't know. It didn't say whether they had the same morph.
I just think we should go back to the presentation because we're not done yet. I didn't expect to get so mad about it.
Oh, you've been mad about it for years, honey.
I still don't know what.
So Balls and Strikes sounds like he has a scientific mind, because he said they were the same morph because he wanted to see the difference in color.
Okay, well, what was your group number? You know, I've heard this about like feeding rodents a certain kind of food. I've heard this about certain lines. I've heard this about final incubation temps. So like we need like volume. All right, so this is like a little summary slide. ASFs are not lab created. They are Mastomys natalensis is sympatric with ball pythons, but not Mastomys caucha, which is what we have. But they are indistinguishable. Maybe they smell differently. Maybe they taste differently. I haven't asked my ball pythons if they want to chime in, but they seem to like them either way. And they're like a good feeder choice, right? All of their hypothetical benefits, they don't need to be like magnified. They don't need to be a superfood. They don't need to be the natural diet because they aren't technically, right? They don't need to be like the perfect food because they're already good. Like, why do we need to like make up excuses for why they're good when they are good? They don't get too big. They make lots of babies. They take care of themselves. and they don't smell. So why do we have to make up extra excuses to use them that are like extraordinary claims instead of just being like, oh yeah, they're a pretty good feeder option?
I think they're a great feeder option because they smell a hell of a lot better than rats, and mice are just fucking sick. So they definitely smell better than them.
I think they're
but what I think
not that much better.
Like I said, mice. Scientifically, balls and strikes is way ahead here. But I have seen clutch mates, but I did not do it in a scientific Jessica approved way, where they held color better. That's a good way to put it, is that they were brighter. They were visually more appealing than their rodent eating sibling, their rat eating sibling. And I think that's maybe where people are starting to make these wild claims, is because they can visually see the difference. And
I know, Jana, but you know about confirmation bias. You can't have one of one and one of the other and make good claims about what all of them act like.
You're correct.
Right? You need 50 and 50, and it needs to be blind, and someone else needs to take care of them for you, and then you analyze the pictures. I
agree to scientific method, but I'm stating is that there is precedence to move onto a bigger study. But when you're just trying to figure it out on your own in your own collection, not all of us have 100 snakes that we can just ask somebody to feed and look at, like of the exact same parentage and morphology and all that stuff. But what I'm saying is that there is enough evidence from enough people that if we really want to know, there is enough evidence that says we should pursue a more scientifically based evaluation, because our own won't hold up in any science conference. Evaluations are showing that there is enough evidence that it's worth someone's time to pursue it, to get a real
think
answer.
Any question is always worth asking.
But I know, but usually when there's
to pay for that,
when there's a hypothesis in place, most of the time there'll be like a smaller study to see if a big study is worth someone's time. And what I'm saying is that I think enough very small, very limited studies have shown in people's own collections have shown a positive. That means that there is room to pursue a bigger. Does that make sense? Like, I'm not saying that it's the fact and it's the end all be all. I'm saying
telling you every question in science is worth asking, except for the weird racist ones. Don't ask. Fucking stop. But like all of the little questions about natural history or whatever, that's fine. Like, it's fine. I don't know who's going to pay for it, but it's fine. But I'm saying
that's what I'm saying. I'm a believer as well. And I think that if someone took the time to do it, I think that it would show unbiased.
Well, Marshall's done it for 10 years. He doesn't think there's a difference. Why does he not think there's a difference?
Because he's too busy riding his motorcycles. I don't fucking know. Like, I'm just saying that I have seen a difference, and that it would be worth pursuing to see if we could quantify that difference in the chemistry of the rodent, in what we're feeding, in the fact that is feeding less grams actually better. Maybe we are overfeeding, and that is doing damage. Like, I think that there's a lot of interesting questions.
Smell is enough evidence for me that the prey size should be like oscillated, mostly small. If you're going to do a big one, they need a big break, because like they're dumping a stool that has a lot of fat content still in it that they didn't actually utilize. That's why it smells so much like rancid meat. It's not as well digested, so a smaller food item. I've also heard some people were claiming ASFs don't have hair or as much hair. And I'm like, they have more hair per square inch of their little body. It's just they have less coarse guard hairs. That's why they feel soft. But their claim was they have less hair, so they are easier to digest. I don't even know. Like every claim possible to make about a feeder, I heard for ASFs to get people to sell them. Less hair, more hair. So like, I think you should use them because you like them, or you like how they fit in your management system, or you think they're cute. But I like the more extraordinary the claim. I think that's why Dave had this weird, like, these don't exist. They're laboratory. Because he was like being like, why is everybody so hard up for them? But they do exist. So it ends up being like the opposite. Where he pretends like ball pythons have never seen a mastomys ever.
Well, I don't care if they are the natural food source or not. I prefer keeping them over Norwegians. I, as many of you have noticed, have a very short attention span and a very, like, it's very easy for me to be like, fuck, these rodents are now largest. So I know myself, and I know that Norwegians and me would not get along because I would forget to freeze them at the correct size, or I'd be like, they're fine. Whereas ASFs, if you throw them in a grow out bin for a week extra, big deal. And so for me, that's what works best. I also notice they eat better. And to me, whether it's just me telling myself or extenuating circumstances, feel like they look better. So I feel better about not wanting to have Norwegians. So I definitely think that there's a lot of room for some scientific research here. I also don't agree with Kaufman stating that they're not in the wild. And they're not a hybrid.
He should have been more clear, because I think he knows what he was trying to say, because he says there's 7 species. He meant the 7 cryptic species of mastomys, but he doesn't say that. He says there are no mastomys in West Africa. There are mastomys in West Africa, just not Coucha. So like, I still to this day have watched it and then rethought what I thought he meant in my head. Like I change in my mind what I think he meant every time I watch it. So that's how confusing it was to me.
He did.
He's probably going to yell at us.
Really,
Dave, I love you. I just don't understand. I'm just assuming
it just
had,
seemed like he was
illness.
using intentionally vague language in multiple different wordings to say nothing concrete.
Right. With the intent purpose of like dissing ASFs in a way that isn't fair. Because obviously ball pythons fucking love them, right? They love them. They're pretty good.
Will's Hella Heat asks if they've ever tried the black soldier fly. I have tried that. I think you're talking with ASFs. I've noticed that sometimes it constipates some of the ASFs. I have no scientific data to back that up. Sorry, Jessica. But you can
have anecdotes too. They're okay.
You can get a mix of the mealworms and the black soldier flies, and as long as you put it in like a grow out bin of, for me, like they have to be like 6-ish weeks, then they do okay. But if you put it in like a colony setting, and if like the 3 to 4 week weans get it, they can get constipated and die. And I've noticed that just in my anecdotal experience.
Maybe there's too much calcium in them.
I feel like they just couldn't digest the outer shell or whatever.
Chitin.
Yeah, because they just get really constipated, and they're, like they usually they poop everywhere. But when you feed them black soldier flies, like they have like little dangling Christmas lights hanging out their butt. That it just doesn't seem like it's good for them.
It doesn't seem good.
No.
All right.
So
my dumbass forgot to screenshot the extra questions, so I'll have to do it from memory. Blackjack asked, for rodents, do we prefer maternity or colony style breeding? You can talk about it for
ASFs
whatever one you want.
Anything.
I think he meant ASFs, but we're going to do all of them because most of them have the same answer.
Oh, okay. So for ASFs, you cannot do maternity raised bins, because once you remove an ASF from its colonial unit, it cannot return. So you can't do that. You also cannot rotate a male through like you would with a rat. I think Jessica stated that this is the same as mice. I've never raised mice, so I can't speak to that. But I raise everything in a colony setting because there isn't another option. And I have really good lines that I can sometimes integrate new members. If you do, there's a series on YouTube about.
He did clarify his question. It was only for Norwegians.
For Norwegians.
But keep going in case there's someone.
Like I do have lines that I have like 2 colonies now of volunteers, but I did have the lines where you could put a new male in like a penalty box for a week inside the colony and start mixing the bedding. And I had like only once did they kill it, and I did it probably 10 times in my early days. Like if I wanted to combine 2 colonies when I was only raising like 1, 2, 1, 3. And then I moved up to bigger sizes. I integrated, I think, 6 colonies. And of the 6 colonies, only 1 rat was killed during the integration process. So I have pretty good lines, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I agree. My
but
lines
you
are
still
like
can't separate them.
Well, I
and then bring them back.
So I would never maternity. I guess let's be clear. But I've put adults back together after being separated that weren't breeding pairs. As long as they're in a clean tub, you have like a pretty good chance of them not fighting. In my line,
if they're not, if it's not a colony setting, if it's like a grow out setting.
No, I mean, like I combined colonies just to be like an ass to see if they would fight. And this line doesn't fight. I wouldn't do it on purpose because it just causes confusion.
It's a lot of stress and confusion.
Yeah. But I have done it just as like when you're calling them for like the skin tag cancer thing that comes up that's viral cause. I just don't like looking at it. So I'll call for that. So I've combined older established ones, not $2 though, just $1. And if everyone was on a clean bedding, it has been okay. Don't ever do this at home. I give terrible advice. Keep a colony separate.
Most lines won't do that. But there are some lines that will, but you still absolutely can't, even though he's saying that's not what he was asking. You can't do anything other than colony raised. And I wouldn't anyway, because of the social structure of ASFs. Dad helps, all the moms help nurse the babies. Even like if it's a brand new colony and there's only 1 litter on the ground and the other moms haven't delivered, they're all pregnant and they will all still nurse the babies, even if they've never even had a baby. And so that colony like tag team system, they need that to thrive. And so you just let them do their thing because they've got it. Even dad will take a turn laying on top of the babies while the moms go lay in the corner and take a little coffee wine break, you know.
Balls and Strike says he combines retired colonies and large retirement tubs before, offing them, and they might fight a little bit for a few minutes and then settle down. I think it's like if it's a neutral space and it's new, obviously it would be stressful. I think it's maybe better than people think it could be. So I agree with that. I still wouldn't do it because you don't need to, right? You want to time out your colonies so that they're all getting offed around 6 months old anyway.
Yeah, Will says he's taken babies from his best colony to put into a slower breeding colony and they raise them up fine and don't kill them. I've only had one instance where I have tried to foster a litter to a new colony and they killed the babies. All the other instances over 3.5 years have always been successul. That colony ended up just having a real bee in it, and she ended up getting fed off anyway because she was a biter. She was like not having it. She ended up killing the male in that colony. Like she was just a jerk. And so I think that was more of like a bad apple in the bunch rather than speaking to the lines. But normally, yeah, they will foster.
Yeah, I can foster them back after leaving them in a corn snake cage overnight. And they wander around and they smell like corn snake. You'd think they'd kill them, but they don't. They'll take back whatever.
No, I'll throw in, and I usually like pull from a bunch of different colonies because I want to leave them to raise some. Like when I'm feeding younger, less than weaned size, I will pull. If I need 10, I'll pull like 2 from 5 colonies each. And then if there are some that aren't eaten the next morning, I will usually just return them to my strongest colony that I know will just take them all and raise them all, rather than like pissing off or fucking up all 5 colonies. I'll just stick the 2 or 3 that are left back in with 1. And I've never had a problem with them taking it, even if it wasn't their baby.
Good. Easy. Andrew Heckler asks, is there a difference in nutrition between males and females? Nobody knows the nutrition value of any ASF. So why'd you delete it?
I'm sorry.
Or what's happening?
Stop touching.
So no one can answer this question for you, but just based on how fat they are, I would assume male ASFs are fattier than female ASFs because females get skinny lactating and giving birth each time. But the old retired males, those things are tubular in structure.
They're so fat and huge.
So that is not 4 times the amount of protein as your average protein bar. That's 4 times the amount of lardo that you can deep fry your chimichangas in.
Oh, but those females that are building, they fucking love those retired ASF fatties.
Right, but that's probably like the body composition
it's like a Snickers
of an adult rat, just smaller. Because an adult male rat is fat, tub of lard too.
Yeah, no, they are definitely, they grow faster. The males grow faster. They get bigger faster. And like I said, because they're not pregnant and nursing their entire fucking life, they maintain their, exactly, barefoot in the kitchen making pie. They maintain their body condition, and maybe sometimes they're over conditioned because you're feeding the pregnant and females, and they'll all eat it. So all of my males, usually that is when I decide to retire a colony. It's not usually the females. It's because the male is like beer gut, heart attack. And the females are like, we're going to just kill you and eat you because you're like eating all the food and we're over here like starving. So that's usually when I know to retire, is they'll off the male in their group because he needs to stop eating because they're eating it. They needed all the nutrients.
Were you ever like a hard like time limit culler, or did you just do it based on production or the amount of viral?
I was absolutely a hard. I used to keep track of dates. I used to have like spreadsheets, and when they reached a certain age, I would pull a new colony from them that I would let to start grow up. Usually about 6 months. And then once that colony, so I pull them about 4 weeks. So another 2 months. So the old colony is 8 months, the new colony is 3 months. And as soon as they drop their first litter, I call the parent.
So you would call
colony.
it 8 months?
8 to 9 months. Yep.
I think like industry standard is like literally 6 months since creation of the colony. So the ASF would be like 8-ish months old.
That's basically what I did.
Yeah.
And if I had a really good producing colony, that's the only time I'd make an exception. Like if the moms are really good and they're dropping 12 to 16 babies still at 9 months, sometimes I would let them run another month or two and I would create 2 new colonies out of that group, just because they had such good female lines. And so I would make exceptions, but for the most part, I was a pretty...
Sorry, there's a bunch of puns in the sorry, keep going. Let's talk about...
So that's what I did. Now I'm just like, it's kind of a free for all because they were volunteers and I'm just trying to reestablish and get back into the rodent breeding game. It is what it is. I think you have to be pretty vigilant in culling for the HPV virus and B, age, because they're literally producing their whole lives. And so if you wait for them to start tapering off in their production, in my opinion, that's waste of resources. That sounds cold-hearted, but like if you wait till they start dropping only 2 or 3 babies, you've waited too long, in my opinion.
I don't know. Did you ever look up what percentage of African soft furs are infected with papilloma?
I think that
I thought it was like most of your line could have it if it has it.
It's a sexually transmitted disease. So like you're saying, you're like integrating 2 colonies. You're integrating 2 colonies after you've pulled out HPV. You're introducing that to like...
I know, but they don't get it until they're old anyway.
Right. So it
almost doesn't matter, right?
I had none in my lines, and then I brought in a new line to add outside blood, and now I see it a lot. So I definitely think that it's situational and where you get your lines from. If you don't want to see the HPV,
I guess we should show a picture.
Yeah. So I see it a lot now, and it doesn't matter if you call for it, because if you're pulling babies out of those colonies, you're perpetuating it. And so once it's in your colonies, it's in your colonies. Like, there isn't really...
I don't want a really bad picture. I want what it looks like early on. Like, there's some like horrific pictures. Yeah. So it can look terrible, but you call them before there's like a quality of life problem. Because by then they're old anyway, because they're doing it when their immune system is sort of falling apart as they just age out.
If you wait too long to cull your colony and you're culling at like 10, 11, 12 months, you're going to see a lot of it if it's in your lines. If you're culling at 9, 10 months, you may just see 1 or 2 of the warts, but it's definitely a problem. And in order to eradicate it, you have to have clean lines. You can't bring in outside lines. You can't redistribute for bloodlines. Like, it's just like a catch-22 almost.
I wouldn't describe it as a problem. I'd just describe it as a fact of life, just like HPV and most versions of HPV in people. Like, they happen, but there's no like, we don't call humans for having
something
yet. We'll see what the purity police say. The other question was, and this is related, Gerald asked why people don't disease test rodents before getting them or bringing them into their colony.
Oh, we need to have a whole episode on that.
Mom!
Hang on, I gotta yell at my kid.
Okay. So I think the answer to that is like, we probably just haven't talked about it enough. And like on a per animal basis, if you brought in some animals and you quarantined them and you found out that they had some sort of like respiratory thing, you would just call the whole intake batch instead of testing like a percentage of all of them, because each animal isn't worth enough to spend the $25 on. If you're buying like a fancy pantsy like dwarf rat, obviously do test the whole way, which we'll have a guest for that one of these days, hypothetically. But
well, it can't actually be HPV beast morphs because that's human papillomavirus, so it's probably just PV or
the African soft furred version.
Yeah, I'm
are
not
just
sure.
Called rodent papillomaviruses.
Right, RPV. Yeah, it's not transferable to humans. In my very limited knowledge, I'm not having sex with my rats, so
well,
maybe it
reminds me of is like, not to be weird, but chlamydian goats. Like, you can either vaccinate for it, or if you have adult goats that have it, they can basically have no symptoms, except sometimes they can have what are called abortion storms, where lots of late-term does can abort very late, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? So like it just wins in the situation where the mom's suppressing her own immune system so her babies can live, and then so she ends up having problems from that. So you like, if you know your herd has the chlamydia, you can vaccinate the babies when they are born so they can be sold to be chlamydia free. But if you do the titer, so there's like ways to management with, but it doesn't like ruin your like having a sheep farm thing. So having rodent papillomavirus doesn't ruin having ASFs. It just means you need a cull in time, and if you're going to sell them, you have to sell them as not papillomavirus free, because you know that they're developing the tumors later on. Jana's back. Yeah, this is probably universally true. Don't ever touch rodents and then touch your eyeballs or something.
Yeah, don't go clean your rodents and then have private personal time after.
Did you have any thoughts on Gerald's question? Forward Motion Reptiles asked a question. Do you remember the question?
I don't.
It was just like why we don't test more on intake for rodents specifically.
Well, like Jessica said, monetarial, like if it's really important to you and you want to test your ASFs and you feel like it's worth the money, then absolutely we always advocate biosecurity and testing always. But if it's not worth it to you, then it's something you can manage visually. Like if you're trying to add an outside line and you already know that your lines don't have it, please test.
Yeah, I would test.
Absolutely
Or
test
even just,
anything
like-
and quarantine anything you
Yeah.
get first. But like she said, like dwarf rats are very pricey right now. So you wouldn't want to bring in dwarf rats if you knew they carried things that you didn't want to bring into your already existing, or you didn't want to buy and invest into something that was going to carry things that you didn't want to have in your rodent colonies. Like I said, we're going to do a whole episode on biosecurity and testing in rodents, and so we'll cover a lot more of that then.
Yeah, I think it's mostly like ROI. It would be just as easy to freeze the batch and try to buy another batch for feeders anyway, than to keep testing, unless you're looking for something very specific.
I don't know. Jessica, you want to weigh in on that?
Is that a real question?
No, I think it's a smart ass remark.
There are some things you can give your rats and vice versa. We talked about that in like the huge giant rodent one, like which ones are communicable back and forth. But we're not talking about that here really, because I don't remember any of it off the top of my head, like which ones are communicable back and forth between people. But our bodies are very similar to rats. We're actually like, best buds. So that's why they're a good vector for all kinds of fun diseases to be given to us. And Lassa fever, by the way, if I've missaid this, was the host species is Natalensis, not Calcha. I was wrong. Everybody, I was wrong. I've been wrong again. Record corrected. Sponsored by BetsyNate.com.
Because you're out of control today in the comments.
They just like, I don't know, this
They're
topic.
rowdy today. It's probably because I'm being quiet. So
All right, any other questions about rodents in general, not just ASFs? And then we'll move on to the second sponsor spot. This is just for like casual rodent talk.
Cash today, guys.
Yeah. If anybody does find the paper about any carcass composition of an ASF, I would love to read it. I can't find it. That doesn't mean it's not in like French or German or something. It could be. So maybe it does exist. But right now, who knows?
All right, let's go into our ad.
Which
Our
sauce do
second
I
ad.
prefer? Barbecue. Second ad.
Something
We're
went
back.
wrong. Stoneage ball
Because I logged
pythons.
out.
That is Justin with Stoneage ball pythons, and he is in the midst of building a new facility for his rodents. Not his rodents, his ball pythons. I speak good today. So exciting things coming for Stoneage, and we are grateful that he's still sponsoring the podcast. And we look forward to his updates.
Yeah. I'm glad somebody's expanding, having fun. Who's this?
Eileen with Bravo Zulu.
Look at this doggo.
Look at that doggo. Oh, you killed it. You ruined it. Oh no.
It's because I switched which one I was logged in as.
Yeah,
Keep talking.
You broke it. Anyway, she's got her season's started, and she's got eggs on the ground. We are
Jesus,
grateful
Mary
to
Joseph.
have her sponsoring the podcast. Thank you, Eileen. I was
I
going to
guess
read
I broke the entire internet.
what the pairing was, but I guess I won't. And then Andy with Powerhouse Pythons also has a lot of eggs on the ground. He has some pippers happening. His season is in full swing. So make sure you are following him on Instagram so you can see what
There's
he
cats.
is putting out. And thank you, Andy, for sponsoring.
We're a hot mess. Thank you, Andy. I don't know why you sponsor us. Can't even keep the cat away from the live. I think it's mad because logged into Holeback Rack, but these were all pulled up with Hare Hollow Farm, so that's why it's mad.
Reptile Bros has some questions about live chicks for Jessica, because she raised. This says from the feed store. Do y'all try live chicks from the feed store? But Jessica, Hare Hollow Farms, used to raise her own chicks. So would you fresh kill, frozen, thawed? How would you feed those suckers?
I don't know if I would buy them from the feed store. They're expensive. They'll be like $4 to $6. I would buy like fryer pan specials, so they need to be less than $1 or $2. Like you can buy them frozen thawed off of.
Yeah, I would never, because those are like pet prices. So that would be like buying a breeder colony of ASFs, of 5 ASFs for $100, and then feeding them off to steaks. That's like an expensive $20 meal. I don't tend to go for that. I mean, unless you really love your snake and you just want to be fancy. Let me know how that works out for you.
They'll eat, a lot of them will eat, I think every single one of my 21s ball pythons eats chicks. Every single one.
I'm up to,
because I taught them to, like, by like
no, it took me about 6 months, and I think I'm at all my breeder females except for I have like 2 really picky, will only do live, and so they won't take anything frozen thawed, so they're definitely not going to take a chick. But everybody else, after the first,
we could take a chick because it's warm. It's mostly like the heat signature smell.
They definitely don't.
Okay, I mean a chick that's live.
Oh, a live chick? They might take a
that's
live
what I mean.
Chick. I've never tried that, but like you said, I'm not going to pay $20 to try a live chick.
Just gotta get on Facebook.
Right, that's true. So definitely, you have to train them to do it, and most of mine they don't effing care what's coming in to that bin, as long as it's the right temperature. They're gonna pound it.
People are so weird about like making fun of chicks as a food item, and I think it's a little bit rude. Not you, Purple Church, but people are like, they're not nutritious. The nutrition facts of chicks versus rats is right here in the link in the show notes, so you can check for yourself if you think it's worth it. They're higher in protein and lower in fat, so maybe they are the ASF. They're actually ASFs, according to the internet rumors. But that's just because of their like body composition, because these are young, these are older, but chicks are born with, they're supposed to run around and do stuff, so they have more calcification of their bones than like a pinky mouse, but those aren't like equivalent sizes. So I think a chick is a fine like weaned rat, large mouse alternative. Or if you want to buy the older chicks, those are good too. But check out this. They're not useless. They do make a looser stool because they don't have hair. So
and it's stinky. It's real stinky. You got to just accept that. But I like to feed a variety, and I like the option because, like Jessica said, there are times of the years where you can buy really, really, really cheap chicks.
78 cents for like an ounce and a half day-old male chick frozen. That is cheaper than a large mouse. It's definitely cheaper than a weaned rat.
It is it's half in a lot of the cases, the price.
Holy fuck.
So I definitely like having that option. I've gotten, so I buy about 50-50 and I feed about 50-50 rodent to chicks right now to my breeders. Actually, I don't think any of my males will take I'll have to try that.
Your breeder males?
I don't think any of my breeder males, except for one who will eat literally anything, does not give a crap what it is. You open his bin and he's eating it. But I don't think any of the other ones will actually take it. A lot of mine
will, like, because they're 21s, because they're breeding. So of that category, because they were taught to.
Right. Maybe. No, that's the only ones that I still haven't converted. But all my breeder females are like, let's go.
Anything. It's not nailed.
Yeah, but it's like such a more affordable option, and it's still super good for them. And they like to have some kind of bird in their diet, because you want to talk about natural diets. Obviously, they're not going to be eating chickens in the wild, but they do eat birds in the wild. And so I like having variety in the diet of my reptiles. So for me, it's cheaper and it's variety. So it's like a win, 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 win.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty, let's talk about Jana. Did you send in your email to get 2 free Desert Ghost tests? I need you to send it in today.
I sure didn't.
You have 72 hours from 2 days ago. So this would be like the last day-ish. Maybe into tonight. The rules are right here. Step 1, register. You just email this email with your name and phone number. Done. You're registered for 2 free DG tests. I need you to do it because I need you to send an enhancer for me.
Oh, okay.
I want to know. I know you were sick, but now you're not sick. So you just got to send it an email.
Totally fine now. Yep. Mm-hmm. But I can send an email.
It's easy. Name, phone number, title, DG testing, raregeneinc@gmail.com. Because I know you were busy being sick, but I think there was a lot of weird stuff percolating to the surface this last week. People showing an animal that doesn't look anything like a DG from a DG to DG pairing. You know, which we suspected would happen. And then they're like, and then the animals that are from Homo AB and barely look like a visual DG. Saw some of those. So they're like, fuck it, let's figure it out. Because maybe since they were getting a lot of their shed samples from a limited number of early adopters, if they get 2 from lots of different people, they'll have a better chance of not accidentally picking up something that seems to carry because the line is very inbred because it's all coming from the same guy. They'll actually figure out what's most important, getting the most genetically diverse animals possible. So I need you to send in your enhancer, Jana.
Yes. On it.
And you have 3 months or something to get your shed to them. 90 days. So you just need to register now and then send them in.
And that's in our show notes?
The link to that is in our show notes.
Okay.
But not the instructions. I don't know if anybody wants to chime in the chat, like where they're at in their hearts currently. I know there's been all kinds of camps that have formed around this. I don't know if you've seen them arguing. You know, like, I don't care. Like, there's that camp doesn't care. There's Ben is wrong. There's Ben is right and I do care. There's like Ben is right and I do care, but I don't think it'll change anything. And there's Ben is right, I do care, and I think the world is over.
Everything's on fire. The whole thing is burning to the ground.
Yeah, but you were sick all week, so I don't know. But to me, it wasn't as simple as we communicated last week, and I want to be clear that I know now that it's not as simple as we communicated last week, and we probably need to do a show notes addendum to that, because the information he gave us originally we reported on, but I don't think that is necessarily the full story. And so breaking news sometimes is too breaking, it turns out. So hopefully he gets lots of responses to his request for sheds and we figure it out better.
What's your take now that you had a chance to sit with it for a week?
Which part? All of it? Or
which camp are you in?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
What?
I don't want to be accused of taking a shit on the project I've already taken a shit on publicly many times for other reasons.
You hate DG, so let's give it here to us. Why are you censoring yourself now?
Because it's not good.
She thinks the project's on fire and this is a shit show.
I think nobody's going to sell their DGs because of this news, but I think it'll hurt confidence to buy new DGs, right? And maybe some people are like, I don't care. But there's enough people who are like, well, I don't necessarily want to buy new ones. I'll just work what I have, because I know what I have is a DG. And I know these hets are hets. And I already have them. So why would I? But any sort of confidence killer at the high end is really bad because it's like accentuated at the high end. Nobody cares about the $500 DG male at a show. He'll sell because somebody's just like, it's pretty. That part doesn't matter at all to that animal. Its life will be lived in its own way. It's only on the high end, any sort of confidence. That's why I think they like hurried up to be like asked for 2 sheds from a bunch of different people so they could quickly figure it out.
She says, "Don't forget also the camp.
We can't
number.
talk about.
We don't know what you're saying. Camp confused."
I think she's meaning it specific. Whatever. So, yeah, I guess there's the camp that literally just doesn't understand any of it and is still confused. And those people are sort of like putting on like the copium hat of it doesn't matter that I don't understand because these other people who I respect think it doesn't matter, so I'm not going to try to understand. I don't think that's that helpful either.
I am in camp when the dust settles in 1 to 3 years around this project. Most of us in the higher end market will be trying to acquire and keep the ALS type DGs. And I think that the problem will work itself out in the higher end market. Is the DG going to take a hit in the meantime? Probably. But I think that it will work itself out and it'll still be valuable in projects. But I think right now you don't know if you have value or you have shit at the moment. So it's going to be.
I thought that until I saw the homos that looked like basically normals.
Without the C?
Well, nobody knows what C is, but homos that should have been like the best of the best.
Look like ass?
Look like ass. So I thought that until I saw that, and I'm like, damn, there's no like game plan.
Yikes. I haven't seen that. Sorry, guys. I was sleeping on the job, literally.
They looked like they were related to Desert Ghost Project, like a good het or something. So obviously C is C, D, E, F, G, the whole fucking rainbow of letters out there.
There's also Camp This. This is what I mostly saw coming down the chute.
I don't think so because maybe I'm like naive or something, but I think Ben generally thinks this is what's happening.
I think that if it was a complicated way to sell more testing, I don't think he would have offered free testing. I think that was a good faith offer of this has nothing to do with sales. So I'm going to take that out of the equation so we can all get a lot more information quickly. If he was trying to make money off of it or try to sell more, then I think he would have maybe offered like a DG coupon code, but he's offering free testing. And I think that speaks to the integrity of the information he's trying to present.
Right. I did say...
I just needed to say that. I needed to get that off my chest.
No, you're doing fine. I think... I don't know who I was on the phone with. I don't remember anymore. I talked to too many people. But I said this like 5 days ago. I was like, Ben needs to offer free DG tests right away to like rebuild confidence, because some people think whatever they're making up, like hysterical, they like that they make up for vetDNA.com, where they're like, he offers tests so he can get rich. I'm like, ain't nobody.
Nido is a scam so that we can send snakes.
So I genuinely think he thinks that this was the situation. And that small amount of confusion he thought wasn't that big of a deal. But then people show stuff that makes that small amount of confusion very important. C is very important because they can look like a normal and be homo A and homo B. So it's not as clear cut as he made it out to be. So he needs to figure it out right away. To me. Obviously, I'm not doing any work and just armchair quarterbacking here. So my opinion doesn't count. Actually, like I don't want to sell my DGs either or my hets, but I also don't necessarily want to buy a ton in this uncertainty period, I guess is my point. So doesn't that like imply by definition that it's hurt the market? Because I myself would choose not to like get into a really expensive one this summer, which I needed to technically.
This is going to be like, I don't know, generic and maybe a little bitter. I don't feel bitter, but I feel like there are always people that when there's turbulence around a project who do like a mass exodus, and then there's the other half of the hobby who like to take advantage of those mass exoduses. So some people may just like purge the project, but there are going to be people out there that are like, this is my chance to get into DG. And I don't know. It'll be interesting to watch it play out.
I've been watching the prices. They're not down, right? So like nobody's like, so, I mean, not down more than they were already down anyway. So nobody's like slashed prices. But also like, that just means people are waiting to learn more. But
Right.
How long does that go on in a market where I checked kingsnake.com this morning and Cal Zoo and Northwest Zoological both weren't buying any wholesale ball pythons again this month. I don't know. Read that.
Blackjack reptiles. Corn snakes isn't scared. Corn snakes is gave up.
I don't know, man. I saw the corn snake hatch last night and I almost peed myself. I don't know if it's giving up or moving on to greener pastures. I did buy a ball python this week, but it's a secret until it's tested. I spent money on a ball python.
Oh, wow. I can't hear. I haven't heard, guys.
Secret. Patricia says, I think we know A and B are recessive. We don't know if C, D, and E and X are dominant. We don't know that A and B are recessive because different versions of that will show a visual animal. We know that they just are all related to each other somehow. I still disagree, Will, with C. It has something to do with cryptic. I don't even know what that means. And then, but you can retort in the comments. Yeah, I think that even if that concerned Reptile Bros says, can you imagine buying an $8,000 DG visual male and you breed it to a 5-gene het female and you get nothing? Even if that never happens, just the possibility of it happening will dissuade people from buying.
We're all feeling a little impotent in regards to the DG project.
All right, let's do some news. Speaking of DG. I was trying to be nice to DG and y'all maybe be mean to it. This isn't DG. This is Puzzle. But I did get a picture. This is the Yellowbelly Redstripe puzzle. Can you see it?
Mm-hmm.
I like it. Right here.
It's sexy AF. It looks phenomenal.
I like the weird, really dark outline.
Yeah.
This is by CR Serpents. I thought it was really cool, and I wanted to highlight something nice for once. What the fuck?
It's almost like Okatee and corn snakes.
Yeah, I like the big border lifestyle, you know?
Yeah, I know it looks good. And it still looks like puzzles, so I'm happy.
And here's a DG I did like. It's a black-head Calico Yellowbelly DG. And then Shane's like, that doesn't look DG.
It doesn't look DG to me at all.
And I'm like, that's why I like it. And then we squinted. We're like, maybe it's like 50% DG. 75%. It definitely is a DG thing. One of the genotypes. But I still liked it, Jana.
It's gorgeous. It doesn't look DG to me.
I think it is, though, from the pairing. There's a picture of it in the egg.
I don't know. It makes me a little nervous. I have a enhancer het.
How much money did you spend on enhancer or DG?
Het clown 66 G stripe that I spent a lot of thousands of dollars on her. And enhancer can like warm
Here
up
it
as
was
it ages.
In the egg.
That is not DG.
I think it is. I think it's one of the like weaker types.
That's not in my brain. That looks not like DG. Anyway, so like sometimes it can like take a while to age.
Just from visual to visual pairing.
Yeah, but now we know that doesn't mean shit.
Oh, but that's what I'm saying.
That's why I'm like over here sweating. I'm like, well, I dropped a lot of money on this girl, and I've been waiting for her to color up like my other one has colored up, and she hasn't. Now she doesn't just like not look DG, she just I have another enhancer from the same breeder that is more beautiful than my pastel DG in my taste of DG, and she just hasn't ever colored up like that. And now I'm like, what is she? I don't want to
It'll be really exciting eventually, like 10 years from now. Because like maybe we don't know, this is totally speculation, but like we might have multiple alleles at each location, and some of them confer creamy, and some of them confer turn silver when it grows up, and some of them confer like stale white, and some of them are actually like really colorful versions of it, and they actually might be less genotypically strong, but if with like a better adult color. Now we can all pick what kind of flavor we actually like, because I like high color DGs, and I also like the weird xanthic ones, but I think they're different things, different projects. Like when a GHI Mojave DG turns yellow, I just want to die. Okay, Jana, I just want to die. I hate it. It's disgusting. But when they turn silver,
then you're just like drooling.
Sign me up. I want like a unicorn snake. But for like my high color combos, like that blackhead Yellowbelly Calico, like it's supposed to be colorful. I want it to stay colorful, not turn yellow. What does chat think? Heretic's excited because they don't have any money in on the game. Good for you. That's the way to do it.
In the peanut gallery.
I'm not even going to say what I spent, but I do have skin in the game, and I am somewhat pessimistic, and I am like naturally pessimistic, but the people who are like, nothing will change and everything is the same, I think you guys are wrong, because it's already changed the second the video went up.
Well, I mean, like, the stages of grief, you know, like everybody's at a different place. There is going to have to be a grieving process, and there's going to have to be a change in how we discuss DG as a whole, and it'll get there, but there's going to be growing pains. There's going to be ups and downs. It's going to be a process. And if anybody's like, oh, it's fine, nothing's going to change, you've got your blinders on, and it's okay. But when you're ready to move on to the next stage of grief,
yeah, they start taking copium pills. Everything changes. Yeah, like that's the correct. Obviously,
I think the whole world. I was just going to say the whole world's going to go back to hypo.
We're rooting for hypo as like a, to be valued instead of literally like as expensive as a pastel. Like a cool enough recessive that it deserves to be.
That hypo is gonna benefit from this.
How much do you think lace will benefit from this on a scale of 1 to 1 million?
Everybody loves lace already, right?
Well, I think everyone will love it more because now it's DG that's not complicated. Doesn't that make it better?
Now that DG is complicated, it makes lace better?
Yeah.
How does it make lace? Why pick lace? Or are you just randomly picking something out of
because
the hat?
The super looks like a DG.
Oh, now I get you.
But you don't need to hit a 6-gene recessive combo to make what you thought was a visual recessive. Now, and people have been like, well, yeah, well, it's still codom. But I mean, you need to hit a lot of stuff genetically to get the look you want in DG, but lace is just simpler. You can treat it like a recessive.
I'm just gonna get out of DG and go super vanilla. It's fine.
We're all coming full circle. I think super lace looks better than super vanilla.
I know, I was just being funny.
I like super vanilla, don't get me wrong, but in terms of like, if people are like, what the fuck, and they're not that heavily invested in DG to begin with, will they choose to switch to lace for their next big purchase instead? See, Matt agrees. I mean, I've talked to a lot of people on the phone about this. Like, for the people who aren't already in, they're not going to sell their DG, but they're not also going to like make their next big purchase. That's funny. Don't say that out loud. You'll curse us. Did you do that one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Read it.
DG Lace argument before was that DG was recessive, so it would hold value better, but not in the current market.
Yeah, I mean, that's an interesting point. I looked earlier. There's 5,000 het clowns. So being a het clown is almost meaningless in most animals in terms of price change.
Correct.
So is clown being recessive matter anymore when like the base clown is $100 for a male? That's like hitting a double, some sort of incomplete dominant, like blackhead. A super blackhead costs more than $100.
It does.
So does clown being recessive matter to its prestige? Yes, but to its real price at like each level up the chain? I don't know anymore. If you breed anything enough, it'll cost nothing. So if DG is recessive, and it's not even that, now it's like polygenic recessive, Lace is a simpler option with a very similar outcome. Please don't firebomb my house, Lace police, or DG police, or murder my pets.
No anthrax in the mail, please.
I'm in. I bought a lot of DG in my life, and I have a lot, and I like it in certain projects for certain things. But I don't know. I'm not satisfied with any of the answers I've gotten, and the copium people are not convincing me by just being like, you need to believe. You need to hodl and just buy every hat and believe it's magically hat or something. Did I have any more news? I forget. I think that was it.
I'm looking.
Oh, yeah, I did. Sorry.
I was going to say, I thought I saw a link.
Oh, my God, Jana. Tell me you'll love this. If you don't, divorce.
What is it?
It's like a weird Amazon tree boa.
I was just going to say, why does that look like a tree boa, but it's patterned?
Yeah, they can be patterned. That's not what's weird about it. It's just the white. They can have like a jungle pattern normally, like garden. Like, so patterning is normal, but this like high white pattern is awesome.
Where did it come from?
It popped out of a litter of like garden to garden or whatever, garden type. And so it's just weird. And they're just like, this is weird. And I'm like, I love it.
So in 6 years, we'll have a more coherent answer.
Yeah, I just think it's cool.
It's rad. It's way rad.
I was into it. I like the ocelot rings on like the high contrast.
Looks great.
And it's not xanthic, it still has some color in its head. It's just weird.
Yeah, it's
got
like
posted by
Chelsea face.
Ectornock on Facebook. I love it. 10 out of 10. Thank you, Chelsea.
Yeah, you know I like that high white.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's male. Never mind. We won't have to wait 6 years. Hopefully they're going to breed that back to mom.
Oh, Lisa, did you check on it on the...
Of course she did. She's not going to be dropping untruthful facts on us. You know how she is.
How did you watch 403's video about it? About Desert Ghost. No, you were sick.
I watched nothing. I was on no social medias.
All right, let's do a poll since we're just sort of like farting around at the end of this show. In the chat, if you think DG prices will be the same in the next 6 months, right same, or you think drop, right drop, or if you think they'll go up, right up.
I think the majority of them will drop once we get a clearer understanding. The ones that are whatever is the sought after thing may go up. But
Well,
in
I
the
want to do a
interim,
poll in the chat. So
why can't I
you
weigh
can
in? I
say what you
can't.
want, but I don't want a book from everyone in the chat. You can say what you want. All right, Will says lower. I'll just go down. Lower. Drop. I don't fucking know, says drop. It's gonna drop. Especially heads. Yeah, hell yeah, Marshall. Especially heads. Should drop because DG's overrated to begin with. I agree. Premium DG will gain premium. So we got a little book, a little bit of a drop. So even if there's nothing, if it's not actually recessive, just the perception that it will drop. So, oh, he's here. I'm still at Jana talk for a second.
Jana talk for a second. After she bitch slaps me, she wants me to talk. Cool. Yeah, Blackjack Reptiles says it. That's what I was trying to say. I think that premium DG, once we understand what that means, will remain premium pricing. I think everything else, especially HETs, the discrepancy between HETs and visuals will only get bigger. And then once we know which one is premium, because like she said, homo to homo, it could still look like shit. So once we know what the magic combination is, then that one's going to command a premium price and everything else is going to be shit for nothing.
Sorry, my kids interrupted.
My kids are home.
All right, we can cut this off. Thank you for coming, everybody. We like to complain at the end, as always. And we'll probably try to take care of our children now, I think. We'll see you guys next week. I don't know what's happening. Bye, everybody. I love you.
Bye.